We are the Regimental Volunteer Band of Wisconsin.
This edition of My Wisconsin comes to you from the Civil War reenactment at the Wade House Historic Properties in Greenbush, Wisconsin. Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of My Wisconsin. Today I have traveled to the town of Greenbush and I have arrived at the historic Wade House Properties, where this weekend they're having the 26th annual Civil War reenactment. This year they're going to have the reenactment of the Battle of Corinth of 1862, which the Battle of Corinth in 1862 was where the Union's strongest garrison in the West, and the battle was conducted in Corinth, Mississippi, where General William Rosecrans protected the town and its rail lines. You can see behind me the Civil War reenactors are getting ready for the day. They're setting up the cannonades, and the military cavalry are out on their horses warming them up this morning and taking them out for a morning exercise and for formations. So what I'm going to do today is a little different than when I filmed last year when I made the film 1864. I am going to put that in just right this moment to kind of remind you of what I created last year, which is more of like an epic war film. But this year I am going to go around the encampments and get a look at the tents, the hospitals where they ate and slept, and conducted their daily operations, along with the battle scene, which will be conducted later on this afternoon. So here comes 1864, a small section of it, and then I'll come back and we'll get started on the walk around the Wade House properties to check out some of the areas for this weekend's Civil War reenactment.
Right now they're going through the combat and loading, combat mode, and just loading everything by automatic and taking the motions off of each other. We'll call clear front when my arm goes up, it'll be the signal that they're ready to fire. We're running these.
Well guys, that was pretty loud. I hope you enjoyed that. I can tell you the camera probably didn't pick up the actual true sound of the concussion that the cannon was going off. The first shot, I didn't cover my ears and they were definitely ringing afterwards, but the second one I did. You can see that I've made my way over to the Confederate lines, and the gentlemen behind me are getting their practices done for the morning and getting ready for the afternoon battle reenactment. I am going to go further that direction over to the camps and get a look at the daily life of soldiers on the Confederate side and on the Union side armies of 1862 where the battle occurred. So let's get on over there and get a look at some music I hear playing in the background and walk around.
So the thing, you had to screw it into the barrel, and you close up your breech. Us Confederates would like to find the highest point in the area, and we'd put a couple of them guns up there, because if they could see it they could shoot it. Normal artillery engagements were somewhere about 1,800 to 2,000 yards. But once you got that polygon bore, rifle bore guns, you could shoot. You could shoot to the horizon. Yeah.
Now, you're all local citizens of this here fine community, Southern Ohio, in 1822 looked very much like the area around here. A lot of farmlands and things like that. I used to listen to stories from my grandfather, because he had actually served in the Revolutionary War, all the way from the Battle of Bunker Hill to the surrender at Yorktown. Now, when I was born in 1822, this country was not even 50 years old yet. And I was the 5th generation Grant to be born here in this new country. Now, growing up, I listened to stories from my grandfather, and he would tell me stories about him in the war. But I soon figured out that Grandpa Noah, who he claimed he was a captain, kind of was a storyteller. He used to tell me that he used to drink with George Washington. All right, now these are entertaining stories at the age of 6 and 7, you gotta understand it.
Alright, so my first stop here is the U.S. Patent Office. Yes, even during the war on the battlefield here in the encampments, they were making patents. Let's see what they were designing and building back in the 1860s during the war.
Did you go, you were at the Smithsonian on a trip to the schools? You were. Remember seeing something like that at the time? What was that, 3 years ago? You were down there in D.C. in that general area?
Now, if you guys study your Civil War history, women were quite commonplace in the encampments during the war. And this here is where I'm stopping at a tent, and you can get a view of a pretty common area where they would prepare some food and eat. And clean. Alright, next stop is a 17 Corp field hospital here. We're going to take a look at what they would use for typical medicines and a couple examples of their surgical tools.
Surgeon's pocket. Really didn't. That's more of a first aid kit. This one is the capital amputation kit. This one takes off the capital bones, the arms, the legs, all those other nice things. Has the tourniquet in it. Has our brain surgery item in it. Over here we have lots of different medicines. Now you'll notice 2 of them have modern labels in front of them. This one is collodion, and this is new skin or liquid bandage today. And this one is ferric sulfate, and a modified version of this is in quick clot, which is used, there's a medical version of this that's actually used in Afghanistan. And what it does is it's a chemical that when it hits blood, coagulates the blood and stops the blood flow. We had our opium and alcohol, and we had our morphine during this time period. We had plenty of painkillers. That was not a problem whatsoever. We had chloroform, and we had ether. But one of these you can read. What does this one say? This one's not in Latin. Oh, don't be shy. Extract of beef. We fed it to the wounded. Because if you feed a wounded person solid food, when you anesthetize them, they throw up all over the front end. Not very nice for the doctor. But they could take bouillon soup. And that's what we fed it to.
The sugar factor's widow who worked in Charity and Hotel Dew. 4 foot 10 or 11, when the Union came, when Farragut steamed up the crooked mouth of the Mississippi and made us federal again. My father told the Federals I was the best doctor in the country. He told the Louisianians I was the best doctor in Louisiana. He was proud. but I took over Father's patients in Louisiana. My father went to Antietam where he died because he nicked his hand here. The first glove surgery was done in 1794. But my father didn't operate with gloves because it was only one or two of them, and the gloves disintegrated. Watson, since 1837, has been railing. He wrote Watson's Lectures in Medicine. He's the one who says we have to be clean. He thinks we should wear gloves because they will protect us from being inoculated with morbid poisons of the body. My father cut his hand, kept operating, and died because of that gangrene. He was inoculated with morbid poison. So my father told everybody in the Union that I was the best doctor in the country. I wasn't really proud.
Alright, I swung out the back side of the field hospital tent, and I am in the middle of the Union encampment, just a small section of it, trying to give you an idea what life looked like for a Union soldier. So I'm going to head over to the Confederate encampment and see what those guys are doing today. As you can see, this tent setup is a little more elaborate and has some luxuries of life, like a nice rocking chair. And if you're hungry, get some Army bread from the Union Mechanical Baking Company in Baltimore. Of all places, a Confederate soldier eating bread from made in the North. But if you are a typical soldier or infantry, this is likely more what you would see if you didn't have an individual tent. Several sleeping berths in one spot.
Mr. Evans.
Alright, I made my way over to the Confederate encampment where they have the cavalry set up along with all the horses. Let's take a look, see if we can get up close to the horses and maybe have a chat.
Huh?
Oh, he's a beaut, huh?
Yeah, looks like Morgan.
I'll say okay. I don't know what a Morgan is. It's a certain breed.
Got the look of the breed, yeah.
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 That's awesome. Oh, nothing in my hand. From my understanding, horses weren't as big as they are today back in at that time period.
No, come on.
Depends on the breed.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, your average breed was like the Morgan here. So,
Yeah.
You know, about this size, built for both riding and for pulling and farm work. But when you start talking about like the plantation horses, the Tennessee Walkers, the saddlebreds that were built for the plantation owners,
Yeah.
those are the big fancy horses.
They were a little more
They were
bigger, huh?
And then you
A
have
little
the
stouter.
draft breeds, but yeah, it really depends on the breed. It is true that we are breeding horses more for height now.
Are you? Alright, that was a little bit of the Confederate encampment. It's getting up on lunchtime here, and a lot of the reenactors are settling in for their lunch, so I won't disturb them. Sounds a pretty good idea. I think I'm going to go get myself something to eat now. It's not going to be food that is accurate to the era. I'm just going to go get myself either a hot dog or a sandwich. I have some food in the car as well, so I might just go out to the car. So we'll see you this afternoon and the rest of the Civil War weekend.
That's the verse everybody knows to this very day, but here's a verse you might not be so familiar with. Old Mrs. married Will the Weaver. Will, he was the gay deceiver. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. Sharp as a butcher's cleaver, but that did not seem to grieve her. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. Old Mrs. played the foolish part to die for the man.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As Jim mentioned, my name is Kevin Hampton. I'm the curator at the Wisconsin Veterans Museum. I wanted to mention a little bit here, give you some context of what you're going to see before we get started. I'll give you a little context about the history of Wisconsin, the Civil War, to begin with, and then we'll talk a little bit about the scenario here, too. In 1861, Wisconsin is a young state. It's a small state. It's about 13 years old, probably about 775,000 people in the entire state. For any of you from Milwaukee, that's pretty much the state, or the size of greater Milwaukee today. So imagine that being the population of the state. Now, when war was declared in April of 1861 and Lincoln calls for volunteers, Wisconsin being a small state, is only needs to send one regiment, 1,000 people. Lincoln's quota for Wisconsin is only 1,000, whereas New York is closer to 10, and so on. There are enough volunteers, though, across the state of Wisconsin that Governor Alexander Randall has to keep companies in reserve, saying, we don't need you just yet, just hang tight, but we'll call you up here in a little bit. So communities across the state, and places here like Greenbush and in Fond du Lac and Sheboygan, all were raising companies to send off.
any questions on the cannons, walk over and ask them.
Well guys, I hope you enjoyed that very special edition of My Wisconsin here from the Wade House in Greenbush, Wisconsin. If you want to find out about all the activities at the Wade House, make sure you go to the Wisconsin Historical Society, and I'll put a link to their website down below, as well the Wade House. Where My Wisconsin's going from here? Not sure, but I know that I was planning on going up to Manitowoc on the shores of Lake Michigan and touring the naval facility up there. So from 1 Year Out Productions and My Wisconsin, thanks for watching. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to like and subscribe to 1 Year Out Productions. We'll see you out there.
Got it.
MattheWolson. My email address is Matthew, MattheW, at signalfire, signalfire.us. Sam.
And the name of your organization specifically?
Specifically, I'm with the 10th Tennessee, but the company that handles the promotion is called Signalfire.
Signalfire Promotions?
Just Signalfire.
Signalfire. Awesome. Thank you very much.